A child once lived in a very small and poor house. His childhood was not filled with comfort, safety, or respect. Instead, it was filled with shame, fear, and struggle. This child was thrown out of his village. His family name became a curse. People whispered when they saw him. Doors closed when he passed by. The reason was his father. His father was accused of rape. His father married another woman without informing his first wife. He abandoned his family and left his wife and children in extreme poverty. Because of this, the entire village turned against the family. That same child, who had no home, no respect, and no security, later bought 80 palace-like houses. Today, those houses are worth more than 600 crores. The same child, who once slept in poverty, became so rich that his annual income grew from 3,000 to 400 crores. This poor boy earned so much money in his lifetime that his net worth reached nearly 3% of the total GDP of the United States at that time. This is not a fictional story. It is about John D. Rockefeller, the world's first billionaire. If Rockefeller's wealth is adjusted according to today's value, his net worth would be around $410 billion. At the peak of his power, Rockefeller's company controlled 90% of the world's oil supply. To understand how massive this is, even today's biggest oil company, Saudi Aramco, worth over $2 trillion, controls only about 55% of the global oil supply. Rockefeller's dominance was far greater. But here is where the story becomes complicated. John D. Rockefeller was not just known for his wealth. He was also known for the destruction he caused. Despite donating billions of dollars, despite giving away most of his income from his very first job till his death, millions of people hated him. People said that because of Rockefeller, entire businesses were destroyed, families were ruined. Some people even lost their lives. The hatred grew so strong that the President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, personally ordered his company to be broken into pieces. Rockefeller's empire was split into 35 different companies. So the question arises, how can a man who donated money his entire life also be one of the most hated businessmen in history? To understand this, we must go back to the beginning. John D. Rockefeller was born in 1839 in a poor household in New York. His father, William Rockefeller, was not an ordinary man. He was a con man. Despite having no medical education, he traveled from town to town calling himself a doctor. He sold fake medicines to innocent people. He claimed that his medicines could cure serious diseases, even illnesses like cancer. Through lies and deception, he made a lot of money, but he never brought stability to his home. Without telling his wife or children, William Rockefeller married another woman. After this, he stayed away from home for months at a time. Because of his absence, John's family often had no food to eat. There were days when survival itself was uncertain. As if this was not enough, William Rockefeller was also accused of raping a young girl in the village. The scandal destroyed the family's reputation. People stopped respecting them. Children mocked John. Adults avoided them. The Rockefeller name became a symbol of shame. Because of this humiliation, John was forced to leave his village at the age of 14. He left behind his home. He left his education. He left his childhood with his mother and siblings. He moved to Cleveland, Ohio. At just 14 years old, John understood one brutal truth. If he did not earn money, his family would starve. So he stepped into the world of work. While most children his age were still studying, when John went out to look for a job, people laughed at him. They mocked his age. They mocked his poor clothes. They mocked his confidence. Week after week passed. 6 weeks went by. No job. No income. No hope. But John did not give up. On September 26, 1855, his life finally changed. He got his first job. His monthly salary was only $50. But for John, it meant survival. He later celebrated this day every year and called it Job Day. This job did more than give him money. It gave him a vision. One day, while working, John noticed something that changed his thinking forever. His employer received a payment check and locked it inside his locker before leaving. John was sitting nearby. Out of curiosity, he wondered how much money his boss had earned. John knew the locker's combination. Quietly, he opened it. When he saw the amount written on the check, he was shocked. The check was worth 35 lakh, an enormous sum at that time. In that moment, something changed inside him. John realized that wealth was real, power was real, and he wanted it. From that day onward, John D. Rockefeller believed one thing with absolute certainty. He was born to become rich. Even as a child, he used to say, "I will live for 100 years, and I will earn 1 lakh." This was the dream that would shape the rest of his life. After getting his first job, John D. Rockefeller was no longer just a poor boy trying to survive. Slowly, he began to change. Although his monthly salary was only $50, John treated every single dollar with extreme seriousness. He wrote down every expense. He calculated every saving. He planned every future step. From the very beginning, John believed that money was not luck. It was discipline. In that company, John worked harder than anyone else. He arrived early. He left late. He never wasted time. Very soon, people started noticing him. Despite being very young, John showed exceptional honesty and accuracy in accounts. So much so that people began to trust him blindly. Even when John was only 18 years old, people started calling him Mr. Rockefeller. This respect was rare for someone so young. People trusted him so much that they even began offering him loans. For John, this was a turning point. He realized something important. If people trust you with their money, you already have power. Using his savings and borrowed money, John partnered with one of his friends named Clark. Together, they started their first business. The name of the company was Clark and Rockefeller. This was not a manufacturing business. They did not make products. Instead, they bought and sold goods and earned commission on every deal. It was simple but effective. John handled accounts. John handled negotiations. John handled strategy. Clark focused on operations. Slowly but steadily, their business began to grow. Then came a major turning point in American history. In 1861, the American Civil War began. War changes everything. Prices rise. Demand increases. Supplies become scarce. For businessmen, war can either destroy everything or make them extremely rich. For Clark and Rockefeller, the war became an opportunity. The demand for goods increased rapidly. Commissions became higher. Trade expanded. That year alone, John and his company earned nearly 45 crores. Just from commission. This was a massive amount at that time. But there was a problem. According to the law, every able-bodied citizen had to fight in the war. John faced a difficult decision. If he went to war and died, his dream of becoming rich would end forever. So John did what many rich people of that era did. He paid money to the government and arranged for another person to fight in his place. This decision saved his life and allowed his business to continue growing. Around this time, John met a man named Samuel Andrews. Samuel Andrews was a chemist. He understood science. He understood oil. Together, John and Samuel invested $4,000 in an oil refinery. At that time, oil was not seen as a revolutionary business. Electricity had not yet been invented. People used oil lamps for lighting. Earlier, oil was extracted from animal fat, but animal fat was becoming difficult to find. Because of this, profits in the oil business were declining. But John and Samuel discovered something new. Recently, oil wells had been discovered in America. Oil extracted from these wells could also be used to light lamps. This discovery changed everything. Samuel Andrews also found that if sulfuric acid was added to crude oil, it turned into kerosene. This kerosene burned brighter, lasted longer, and was cheaper. The market exploded. Demand for kerosene increased rapidly. Within just a few days, John earned profits worth crores of rupees. This was the moment when John made a life-changing decision. He decided that from now on, he would focus only on oil. No more small trading. No more side businesses. Oil would be everything. But the oil industry was not peaceful. It was full of competition. Dozens of small oil companies were fighting each other. Prices kept changing. Profits were unstable. John understood something very clearly. If he wanted to become the biggest player, he could not survive through fair competition. He would have to eliminate competition. For this, John needed a partner who had no emotional limits. That partner was Henry Flagler. Henry Flagler was extremely ambitious. He believed that business was war. Together, John and Flagler formed a powerful alliance. Flagler taught John how to crush competitors completely. They did not just compete on price. They attacked supply chains. They attacked transport routes. They attacked survival itself. Many oil companies collapsed. Some businessmen lost everything. Some were ruined forever. By this time, oil transportation depended on railways. There were 3 major railway companies in America: Pennsylvania Railroad, Erie Railroad, New York Central Railroad. Every oil company depended on these railways to transport oil from one place to another. This dependency gave John a new idea. He realized that if he controlled transportation, he would control the entire oil industry. When the Pennsylvania Railroad decided to shut down its Cleveland line, panic spread across the oil market. Rumors started that Cleveland's oil industry was finished. Other oil companies rushed to leave the city. But John did not panic. He stayed calm. Instead of leaving Cleveland, he did something smarter. He secretly approached the other two railway companies, Erie Railroad and New York Central Railroad. Both companies had invested heavily in Cleveland and were now losing money. John took advantage of their desperation. He signed secret deals with both companies. Under these deals, Standard Oil got huge discounts on oil transportation. Other companies had no idea. Using these discounts, John reduced his oil prices deliberately. His competitors were forced to lower prices too. But unlike John, they were paying full transport costs. Slowly, one by one, oil companies began drowning in debt. Some were destroyed by bankers. Some shut down forever. And John D. Rockefeller kept growing. This was only the beginning. By now, John D. Rockefeller clearly understood one thing. Oil was not just a product. It was power. The secret railway discounts had given him a huge advantage. While other companies were paying full transportation costs, John was moving oil at a much cheaper rate. This difference slowly began to destroy the competition. Many oil companies tried to survive by reducing prices, but they could not match John's costs. Some companies went into heavy debt. Others were forced to shut down completely. But for John, this was still not enough. He did not want to be just bigger than others. He wanted to control the entire oil industry. For this, John formed a new company, Standard Oil. The name itself reflected his vision. One standard, one system, one controller. John and Henry Flagler expanded rapidly. They bought refineries. They bought storage facilities. They bought pipelines and land. Whenever a small oil company refused to sell, Standard Oil reduced prices even further. This made survival impossible. Some competitors surrendered and joined Standard Oil. Others were crushed. At this point, many oil companies had either drowned in debt or were completely destroyed by bankers. But John's ambition was still growing. John knew that transportation was the backbone of oil, so he decided to take control of the railways themselves. By now, two railway companies, Erie Railroad and New York Central Railroad, were already working secretly with him. John then approached the third giant, Pennsylvania Railroad. Together, they formed a secret alliance called the South Improvement Company, SIC. The deal was extremely powerful. Under this agreement, Standard Oil would ship oil only through these three railways. In return, Standard Oil received up to 50% discount on transport. Competitors paid full price. Half of the money paid by competitors was secretly returned to Standard Oil as commission. Railways also shared detailed information about competitors' shipments. This meant that John knew how much oil competitors were transporting, where it was going, and when it would arrive. Because of this alliance, many companies could not even pay salaries to their workers. Soon, the truth leaked. When people discovered this secret alliance, they were furious. Mass protests erupted. Railway tracks were blocked. Public anger exploded. For the first time, John D. Rockefeller was publicly seen as a villain. Under pressure, the alliance was shut down. But John was not defeated. He was calculating his next move. After the collapse of the secret alliance, John decided that secrecy was no longer needed. Now, he would control the oil industry openly. Standard Oil began selling oil at prices that no company could match. Imagine getting a bottle of petrol, almost free with water. That was how low the prices became. Except for four major competitors, almost all oil companies were wiped out. John then sent a clear message to the remaining companies. Either join Standard Oil or prepare to be destroyed. Many companies, already weakened and afraid, joined Standard Oil to survive. Those who refused faced even lower prices. Standard Oil also began buying oil-making machines, storage tanks, packaging materials. Even if competitors wanted to continue, they had no tools left. John also instructed the railway companies to stop transporting oil. For his remaining competitors, there was no escape. By this point, Standard Oil controlled 90% of America's oil. John had created a monopoly. People began calling Standard Oil the octopus because its arms reached everywhere. John then questioned why he should pay railways at all, so he decided to build his own pipelines. This decision terrified railway owners. Tom Scott, owner of the Pennsylvania Railroad, felt threatened. He believed that if John built pipelines, railway companies would collapse. Tom decided to enter the oil business himself. John did not like this. He immediately cut all business ties with Tom and reduced oil prices even further. Tom's company could not survive. Profits vanished. Salaries could not be paid. Finally, Tom Scott was forced to go to John and beg. The humiliation destroyed him. Within a year, Tom Scott died of a stroke. This incident created powerful enemies for John. One of them was Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie blamed John D. Rockefeller for the death of his mentor, Tom Scott. From that day, a deep rivalry began. By now, John had also started investing in other industries. He entered the iron industry. To control iron, John bought the Mesabi Range, the largest iron mine in the United States. He used the same strategy as oil. He lowered iron prices. He increased quality. Demand for his iron exploded. Carnegie needed iron for steel production. Because of John, iron supply for Carnegie became difficult. John even built his own steel mill, directly challenging Carnegie. The competition became intense. Finally, Carnegie was forced to sign a deal. Under this deal, Carnegie would buy iron from John. John would provide railway transport discounts for Carnegie's steel. Both agreed not to interfere in each other's industries. Both benefited. When J.P. Morgan learned about this agreement, he saw an opportunity. He decided to merge power. Morgan planned to create the largest company in history, U.S. Steel. He approached John and asked, "How much will you sell the Mesabi mines for?" John replied calmly, "My 27-year-old son handles that. You may ask him." Morgan assumed he could buy it cheaply, but John's son refused to sell. Eventually, Morgan paid the price set by the Rockefellers. He bought Mesabi mines from John, Carnegie's entire steel business. These were merged into U.S. Steel, the world's first billion-dollar company. John became a shareholder. Now, John D. Rockefeller dominated oil, railways, iron, and steel. He became the richest man on earth. But power creates enemies. One of them was journalist Ida Tarbell. She published 19 articles exposing Rockefeller's practices. Her hatred was personal. Her father, an oil refiner, was ruined because of John and later committed suicide. Ida exposed secret deals, ruthless tactics, and even past scandals related to Rockefeller's father. Public opinion turned against John. President Theodore Roosevelt used this as an election issue. After becoming president, he took Rockefeller to court. In 1911, Standard Oil was declared guilty. The company was broken into 34 parts. Surprisingly, Rockefeller was not unhappy. He already owned shares in all the new companies. After the breakup, their value increased rapidly. Rockefeller became even richer. He officially became the world's first billionaire. John D. Rockefeller had two faces. One destroyed businesses without mercy. The other donated money endlessly. From his first job till his death, he donated $540 million. In today's value, this equals thousands of crores. Even today, the Rockefeller Foundation has donated over $11 billion worldwide. This is the complete story of John D. Rockefeller. If you've made it to the end of this video, it means there was something valuable here for you. Stories like this take a lot of research, effort, and time to create. So please like this video and leave a comment. It truly supports the work and motivates us to bring you more powerful stories like this. Thank you for watching.